What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Empire on Deck. We've got our first slate of games on Thursday night, so let's jump into the action. Remember how I said that anything can happen on opening day? Well, anything happened, and it was on the first game of the day. That's right. The New York Mets beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 11-7. But the story there, and the most shocking event of the day, was the fact that Paul Skenes, that's right, the guy that I said with full confidence that I could not bet against for NL Cy Young, with a career ERA of 1.97, did not make it out of the first inning against the New York Mets, allowing 5 runs, 2 walks, 4 hits. Nothing seemed to be working for Paul Skenes. The other major note from this game was that Mets rookie Carson, Benge, who was making his Major League debut, homered in this game, and he wasn't the only rookie making a debut that had a major game. Kevin McGonigal of the Detroit Tigers, remember I said that he's my pick for AL Rookie of the Year because the guy just hits, went 4 for 5 in his Major League debut, including a 2 RBI double in the first inning. Chase DeLauder of the Cleveland Guardians homered twice in a 6-4 victory against the Seattle Mariners. And even though this wasn't DeLauder's Major League debut, because technically he debuted in the playoffs for the Guardians a year ago, talk about a crazy way to debut, this was his regular season debut, and he homered twice. And finally, J.J. Wetherholt, the number 5 prospect in all of minor league baseball, made the opening day roster for the St. Louis Cardinals and homered in the third inning, and also tallied another RBI on a sac fly later in the game. So these are a handful of rookies making their Major League debuts, or in DeLauder's case, regular season debut, with huge outcomes. So shout out to them. But definitely the surprise of the day was Paul Skenes not making it out of the first inning. The superstar with the 1.96 career ERA in 2 seasons now has an ERA north of 64 to start 2026. I'm sure he'll be fine, but that's what I mean when I say anything can happen on opening day. The Milwaukee Brewers beat the Chicago White Sox 14-2. The story in this one, other than the fact that it was reported an hour before opening day that Jackson Chourio would miss 2 to 4 weeks with a broken hand that he suffered at some point during the WBC, the story in this one was Jacob Misiorowski, who earned the opening day start after an incredible rookie campaign, and the first batter of the game, he allowed a home run to Chase Mydroth, and then proceeded to get 11 strikeouts in the next 15 outs to complete a very strong 5-inning debut to 2026. So Jacob Misiorowski had a rough first batter and then buckled down, only allowed 2 hits that whole game. And the Brewers are off to a very hot start in 2026 without Jackson Chourio. The coaches have already said that he is on his way to recovery, so hopefully it is on the lower side of the 2 to 4 weeks instead of the full 4 weeks. But we will see. But this is a really good sign for the Milwaukee Brewers. The Washington Nationals came out firing, beating the Chicago Cubs 10-4. The Orioles won a low-scoring game against the Minnesota Twins 2-1. We saw several low-scoring games on opening day, which is to be expected because the old adage is that pitchers get ready for the season faster than hitters. Speaking of low-scoring games and pitchers being ready before hitters, Garrett Crochet outlasted Andrew Abbott in Cincinnati between the Red Sox and Reds, where the first run was not scored until the 7th inning, and the Red Sox won the game 3-0. One of the more surprising outcomes of the day was the fact that the Angels blanked the Houston Astros 3-0 in the opener. And the surprise here is there's been a lot of talk about, is the end of the Astros as we know them? Is their dominance in the AL West over? Now that in the last couple of years we've seen guys get hurt more, guys get a little bit older, guys leave the team. And this really validates those thoughts and those rumors that this could be the end, because Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, Christian Walker, and Yordan Alvarez combined to go 1 for 13 in Game 1. And Cy Young finalist Hunter Brown did not make it out of the 5th inning. He had several walks. I believe it was 4 walks in this one. He did have 9 strikeouts, but again, he did not make it out of the 5th inning. This is not a good sign for a Houston Astros team that does not have the highest of expectations, according to analysts and fans in 2026. As I previously mentioned, the Detroit Tigers won 8-2 against the San Diego Padres. Kevin McGonigal was the story here. 4 for 5 with a first inning double. 4 for 5 with a first inning 2 RBI double to lead off his major league career. Like I said, this guy just flat out hits, and he proved it in his first major league game. Tariq Skubal was strong, and Kevin McGonigal proved why he belongs in the major leagues and proves the theory that he will win multiple batting titles in his career. He's starting his career off with a very strong 800 average. The Philadelphia Phillies start 1-0 against the Texas Rangers with a 5-3 victory. Kyle Schwarber had a home run in this one, and I expect him to pick up right where he left off in 2025 and push Shohei Ohtani to the limit for NL MVP. Like I said, I decided to go with Juan Soto as a pick for NL MVP just to avoid saying Shohei Ohtani, but you could also throw in Schwarber, Acuna if he stays healthy. Many are predicting that if Acuna plays 150 games, he could go 40-60. But you got to respect Schwarber's game and what he did last year, as well as what he did in the WBC, and he's got one on the board here on opening day for the Phils as well as they start 1-0. The St. Louis Cardinals beat the Tampa Bay Rays 9-4, and I said the story here for me personally was the fact that J.J. Wetherholt homered in his MLB debut, the number 5 prospect in baseball, and notched a sac fly to finish with 2 RBIs in his first major league game. The Los Angeles Dodgers started their World Series defense with an 8-2 victory over the Arizona Diamondbacks. Kyle Tucker notched a double in his Dodgers debut, and Will Smith homered. The Dodgers are 1-0. No real surprise there. And last but not least, a game that ended just a few minutes ago as we're recording this, the Cleveland Guardians outlasted the Seattle Mariners at T-Mobile Park 6-4 to start 1-0. As I mentioned, Chase DeLauter, who made his regular season debut tonight, despite actually debuting in the playoffs a year ago, homered twice, and Dominic Canzone of the Mariners also homered twice. The ball was flying out of T-Mobile Park. The problem for Seattle was that all 4 of their homers were of the solo variety, providing all 4 of their runs. Offense was a question for Cleveland a year ago, so this is a very promising start for them in the opener. And then there's one story that I wanted to touch on, which we talked about the Phillies a minute ago, and I'm going to do a separate video on this because there's a lot more information we don't know yet. But it came out that Phillies third baseman Alec Bohm is suing his own parents for funneling his money to pay their bills. Alec Bohm is requesting that his parents pay him more than $3 million in damages after he claims that they had control of a couple of his accounts that he was using for multiple LLCs, and that they locked him out of them and used the money in those LLCs to pay their own bills. And when he went to look up and to take control of his own finances and get those in order, he noticed money was missing. And reportedly, when he asked his parents to give him access to these accounts that he allowed them to manage for him, they would not let him access his own money. Both sides are saying that they agreed on a 10% management fee of those accounts, and that Bohm would have full access to them whenever he wanted. And yet, according to Bohm, his parents put up a fight when he asked for access to them, and that's when Bohm discovered that much of his money was missing. He is now asking his parents for over $3 million in damages. I will probably do a separate video on this on Empire Sports Talk when we get more details. This seems like a very messy situation. Bohm did not want to comment before the opening day game. We will wait and see as the details come in. But until next time, those are all the scores and highlights and headlines from the opening day of baseball. I am Roman Gennaro. This has been Empire on Deck, and I'll see you tomorrow night.